Recently, a friend approached me, perplexed, bothered by some of the laws of the Sabbath, of Shabbat. They don't yet keep or observe all of Shabbat, or the Sabbath laws in its entirety yet, but they were bothered and even a bit aggravated by some of the rules. For example, this person said, Ollie, I don't understand why I can't swim. Why can't I jump in a pool or go swimming in the sea? It's meant to be the day of rest. I find that just pleasant, leisurely, restful, relaxing. I don't get it. What's the big idea? Why? Why can't I do this? It seems a valid question, and it is important to dig deeper to understand what the laws in Judaism are all about. But there's a certain way of understanding Judaism, which is actually really true to the Jewish tradition, that can actually totally dissolve your question, which is when you're in a relationship with someone, if you're married to someone, if you're trying to respect your parents' wishes, and they say, I really don't like it when this is done, or when this is added to my food, or when the shoes are left outside of the cupboard, or maybe they just have some quirky tastes, or like it when people do certain things that you may find weird or doesn't do much for you, but it does something for them. If someone that's important to you and says, it really means a lot to me when you do this, it really matters to me, do you need a why? They actually just gave you the biggest why, which is, this matters to me. This is important to me. What more do you need than that? If someone is important to you, then being able to cater to them and serve them in some way, help them, aid them, do something that makes them happy, what could be a greater pleasure? What could be a greater responsibility and purpose than that? The fact that it matters to them is the greatest reason why. Now, yes, of course, you can delve into their likes and understand it more. You can ask the whats, because that may help you to get to understand the person. But fundamentally, if it matters to them, it matters to them. End of discussion. You might not get it, but that you're not the primary focus here. It's them. So if your creator matters to you, and your creator says, well, doing this in my world really matters to me, touches me, matters to me so much they even call it a commandment. That's how much they depend on us to do it, because it's so essential. I'm not going to say this is a suggestion. No, it's a commandment, which shouldn't be seen as wrathful fire and fury. It should be seen as, wow, God, this is essential to God, and I can do it for him. So when you look at it through that point, it changes everything through the dynamics of relationship. You know, I heard a marriage counselor saying recently that asking whys in relationships, especially between couples, it's very unhealthy. It's a toxic question. A spouse says, can you please do this? Or can you please not do that? The other spouse says, why? You suddenly trivialized their will, their desire. And it can be quite condescending, patronizing, and even a hurtful question. Because you're basically saying the fact that you want it is not good enough a reason. I need it to make sense to me. It needs to fit in with my worldview, with my plan. And it's also trivializing and a tricky thing to ask, because sometimes we don't even know why we prefer something a certain way. It's just the way we are. Sometimes we actually can't explain it. And by saying why, the fact that we just have our preferences is, you're saying that's not enough of a reason for me to want to cater to it. So there are some people within the Jewish world who like to try and figure out the why behind the commandments. However, asking what as opposed to why is very healthy and is good. What is it about that does something for you? What is it specifically that you find to be attractive about this preference? What are the ways in which I can best provide for you in this area? What is it that bothers you about this? That's a very good question. And sometimes you can actually understand a bit more about the person and their preference through asking what questions. And that's the healthy way to go about trying to understand. But ultimately asking the why is problematic because at the highest level, when it comes to will, why we have preferences can actually sometimes transcend logic. It can just be, well, that's the way I am. And so Chassidut introduced. And so Chassidut actually played quite an important role in bringing to the fore this idea of, yes, it's good to learn and understand all the various elements and depth of Judaism and Jewish laws, but ultimately when you're in a relationship with someone, if someone says, this is important to me eternally forever, if you want to be in relationship with them, fundamentally you don't need to ask or know everything about the why, because you already have the biggest why of all. It matters to them. And this was why God was so blown away by the Jewish people's response at Mount Sinai. We just had the festival of Shavuot, which commemorates that moment where we stood at Mount Sinai, and the Jewish people effectively became betrothed to God and God to the Jewish people. And the Midrash, the biblical commentary, tells us that God went to all the nations of the world and offered them the Torah, first of all, before he went to the Jews. And he said to them, will you accept my Torah? And they said, well, tell us what's in it. And he said, well, it says this. And they said, oh, that's not going to work for us. And he left it. But they really had already blown it the moment that they said, well, tell us what's in it. Because effectively what you're saying is, let me see if this works for me. Let me see if I can understand. If it can fit into my life, then fine. But otherwise, I'm not interested, because I'm interested in how my connection to you can serve me. But when he goes to the Jewish people, they said, Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do and we will listen. Before we even understand all the aspects of your will, the what, we're committed. Because you just came to me, my creator, and say, I need something from you. You can serve me. What better opportunity, reason to be in relationship with God than the very fact that he desires me and desires a relationship with me. So we don't need to know the details. Our creator says, I need you. Great, I'm in. Well, why do you want this? What? Okay, we can look into your will and your wants and your laws and the worldview you have, but ultimately, if this is what you need of me, I'm in. And that's very romantic, actually. It takes Torah above just being a book of laws. It's about a book of relationship and romance. And so there's this fascinating, rather amusing debate in the Gemara, in the Talmud, about when God said to the Jewish people the commandments, and he told them the negative commandments, don't do this, don't do that. Did the Jewish people respond by saying, no, we won't do that? Or did they say, when told, don't do this, we said, yes, we won't do that? Did they say no or yes? And it seems like a trivial debate, but it's actually not. It's touching on something very profound. On one level, we said yes to the positive commandments, and we said no to the negative commandments. Yes, we will do that. No, we won't do that. And that is about obedience, commitment. But then there's the deeper level, the more romantic level, which is that when God said, do this, we said yes. Don't do that, yes. Do this, yes. Don't go in the sea on Shabbos, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Because we're saying yes to him. If you need it, if this is what you need of me, I'm here for you. It's that simple. Because it's about you. And it's about my relationship with you. And the fact that I can be a part of your life, my creator's life. Wow. So, yes, we want to delve into the what's, to understanding all the various depths and levels and infinite levels of God's will and God's personality. But fundamentally, the Jewish approach is, this is something, a way in which you can serve God. So if if you're interested in relationship with God, then the very fact that you can serve him, that it matters to him, that is reason enough, and perhaps the most powerful reason for why we want to serve him and get involved. I'm Ollie Anisfeld, and you're watching JTV.